These UN soldiers are patrolling a road that connects Beni to the Ugandan border. Along the way, they meet dozens of villagers.
I am Lieutenant Makombe from MONUSCO. We are patrolling.
Every time they face the same questions and the same criticism.
If MONUSCO is here to protect us, then why do people keep dying?
MONUSCO, the UN force in DR Congo, says it carries out more than 1,000 patrols around Beni every month. Their mandate is to protect the population from armed groups, especially the ADF, a militia originally from Uganda which has killed hundreds of people in the region over the past 6 years. But for most villagers, patrols are not enough.
Safety is only provided along the road, but in the fields and around the forest, there is no safety. If we can't work in our fields, then what are we supposed to do?
Distrust towards peacekeepers runs deep in Beni. These images shot a year ago show demonstrators attacking and setting fire to a MONUSCO base to protest against the UN's failure to protect them. Today, the UN force says it has learnt from these events.
We have put in place new strategies to try to improve our work every day. And these strategies consist first and foremost in reaching out to civilians. We've put in place a new warning mechanism, which enables us to respond quickly to threats in the event of an attack.
Peacekeepers say they respond to every single alert they receive, but when they intervene, it's sometimes already too late. Located 30 kilometers north of Beni, the village of Musuku was attacked on the 21st of September. 5 villagers were killed, 13 houses were set on fire, and the local health center was destroyed. The head of the village showed us the extent of the damage.
The attack took us all by surprise. They made all the sick people flee, and then they set fire to the building.
The health center is barely recognizable. Everything has been either torched or looted.
We have nothing left. If you get sick here and you don't have a motorbike, then all you can do is wait for death.
Out of more than 2,000 villagers before the attack, only a dozen families have remained in Musuku. This young man says he tried to send out an alert but was unsuccessful.
For us, it's complicated because when there's an attack, you look for somewhere to hide. And then the main difficulty is getting signal on your phone.
Congolese soldiers stationed nearby arrived at the scene after the attack in the early afternoon. At 6 p.m, peacekeepers from a base 15 kilometers away were alerted. They say they got to Musuku at 7 p.m, but this witness says they arrived much later.
The peacekeepers arrived here at 9 p.m. They were late. They say they're protecting us and they do patrols. The attack took place at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they came 12 hours later.
With 2,000 men, MONUSCO is not alone in its mission to protect civilians. It's first and foremost the responsibility of the Congolese army and its 5,000 soldiers deployed around Beni. Last year, it launched a major operation against the ADF, announcing the recapture of several of their strongholds. But in retaliation, the rebels have intensified their attacks. The number of destroyed buildings has increased 5-fold, and the number of deaths has doubled. The army spokesman in Beni, however, says the recent upsurge is a sign that the ADF are weakening.
We're facing a terrorist group that has nothing to lose here in the Congo. It's a foreign organization, and because they've been driven out of several of their strongholds, they have no choice but to target the weakest members of society. That is, civilians.
A victory against the ADF remains a distant prospect for now. Meanwhile, fighting has displaced nearly 500,000 people in just 1 year, according to the UN. In Mangina, this woman was taken in by a local resident.
We left everything, our house, even our children. They burned down our village. We have no money left.
Like her, a majority of displaced civilians stay with host families.
Whatever I can get hold of, I share it with them. But finding food is difficult, and the children don't have blankets to sleep with.
NGOs and the UN's refugee agency, meanwhile, are struggling to cope. Completed in September, these shelters house 50 families but are already overcrowded.
NGOs and UN agencies are doing what they can. But we're facing recurring attacks, which means that as soon as we meet the needs of some people, there are many more coming to us in need of assistance.
6 years of continuous attacks have sparked mixed feelings of anger and resignation in Beni. Calls for an end to the massacres are daubed on walls and houses across the city in a last-ditch attempt to ward off indifference.
There is this feeling that the country is no longer behind us. It's as if we've been sacrificed, both by the politicians and by the security services, and that leaves us with very little hope that things will one day improve.
A feeling of abandonment shared by many as promises of peace remain unfulfilled.